Our first guests on the show. A few weeks ago, we had the delightful Sonia McDonald here. And, always a pleasure to chat to a glamorous lady in the studio. And she was telling me the story of her daughter, Abby, and things that happened at school. And anyway, Abby is here. First of all, very good morning. Welcome to 101 FM.
Oh, thank you for having me. Good morning to you too.
Absolute pleasure. It must be so difficult having a glamorous mum that people think is your sister. I mean, that must be a real problem.
Oh, people think she's my grandma, actually.
I'm guessing you're walking back to Brisbane today after that.
Oh, great.
Abby, obviously you're looking great, you're looking happy now. It wasn't always like that. Now, you've had some issues regarding bullying, so maybe just take us back a little bit about the story itself.
Yeah, sure. So in 2014, sadly, my best friend started bullying me. And at first, it was just teasing, so I thought it wouldn't get any worse than that. I could handle that. But then it became death threats were being sent to Mum and I. Physical and verbal abuse, and it was just a really difficult time, and the school refused to intervene at all.
Okay, because that was going to be my first thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
So when all this became serious, you told the school, you told people who you thought you could trust, and nothing happened.
Yeah, so it actually got to a point where I was taking a lot of days off school, and my mum was walking me into school one day to tell the teacher why I had been off, because I was in grade 8, I was just like, come with me, Mum, I'm too scared. And she came up to my mum and verbally abused my mum.
So this is your former best friend?
Yeah, former best friend.
I have to, what made you change from, being best mates to all of a sudden this?
Her boyfriend, sadly.
Okay.
So it's funny, at such a young age, we're not very mature. We don't have a lot of common sense at that age. So sadly, we had a group of friends and we had a inside joke about food, and I'd put on Facebook one day, why do we love fried chicken and Subway so much? And her boyfriend had commented and said, because you're a fat C word.
Okay.
And so I had confronted her that morning because I'd woken up to it, absolutely devastated.
Yeah, well, you would be. You don't expect that, especially from a so-called friend.
Yeah.
And their partner.
I told her on the bus, and she was just like, no, it was a joke, it was funny. And I was like, you're my best friend, it hurts me.
Yeah.
And so, it just progressed from there and became absolutely unbearable.
Okay, so take us back to the first time that you and your mum went to the school. And so who did you actually approach? Was this just admin, or was it the head teacher?
So we were going in to approach just my normal form teacher.
Yeah.
And that's when she came up to Mum, started saying some horrendous stuff to her. And Mum and her are about the same height, so she was trying all up in her face. And then we went to administration, and then we went to, because the school I was at was from prep to year 12.
Okay. So that's quite a long journey within the school, isn't it?
Yeah, so we went to the high school principal. And we were like, Mum was just hysterical. She's like, please, you need to do something about this and all this and that. And they were like, yeah, we'll do something. We're so sorry. Just write down this incident report, and nothing was done. She didn't even get a detention or anything. Wow.
So they didn't have any policy, because a lot of schools I talked to, they have a zero tolerance policy, one strike and you're out. So there's nothing like that. Just for people that don't know, what age were you and your ex-friend? What age were you then?
I was 12, but she was a year older than me, but in the same grade as me.
Wow, okay, so this is happening from a very, very young age. So the school did nothing, and I'm guessing that all of this continued then?
Yes, it did. So it started in about April, and it just went on and on. And from my best friend, she kind of started bribing people to start hurting me, to start bullying me. So I was kind of left out. So I actually made a lot of friends with the grade 12s because I just couldn't function in my grade. And it was absolutely horrible. People were wanting to tease me and bully me over candy. She would give them candy to come and hurt me. And it was just terrible. And I kept going to the teachers. I kept talking to my form class teacher and all these things. I kept going to the principal. I kept going to the chaplain, the school nurse, the school psychologist. And it was nobody was willing to help me at all.
So clearly nobody was listening and nobody was taking it seriously.
Yeah. They all thought that since we were in grade 8, that it was just, we'll get over it. It's just, you're at that age where you kind of get bullied and get teased. And then when you get older, it'll pass. But it was it was so not worth it, because now it's kind of deteriorated my path that I wanted and that I had wished for, and now I've had to find a new path that was a lot harder and took a lot out of me just because they thought it was just some immature little feud between us.
I mean, first of all, I'm sorry that you went through that, but I'm glad that you've come here to share the story, because people need to know it's not, in this day and age, that is not acceptable. So you and your mum, obviously, you made a decision that you couldn't carry on going to the conventional school. How hard was that for you, just not to be like all of your other decent friends and be sort of joining them 5 days a week?
At such a young age, it's hard because, you know, you see movies and you have all these expectations.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, I wish I could be that person. I wish I could be there and be normal and just have fun with friends and socialize and all this and that.
So when you say be normal, you were kind of almost blaming yourself, like you're saying this is your own fault.
Yeah, of course. I got to the point where I was blaming myself because the school was refusing to help me. So in my mind, being 12, I was thinking, there must be something wrong with me, because why won't the school help me? It has to be my fault.
So from that moment, I'm guessing it was all homeschooling then?
Actually, no. So I went to 2 other schools after that. Because the final straw that my mum and I had with that school was due to all the bullying, I developed severe depression and anxiety, and then I started self-harming, which a couple of the teachers knew about and refused to intervene at all. So here I am self-harming, and they're just like, well, that's not our issue. Like, we don't want to deal with that at all. And it was horrendous. So mum and I decided to move to another school, private school, but the damage was done. My anxiety was just horrendous. Yeah. My depression was just unbearable. And yeah, it became to that point where I just couldn't go to school anymore. And then, I tried to kill myself in 2015. So about a year after the bullying began, because it was that bad. Like, I just couldn't take it anymore. I had felt so low within myself. I felt so worthless because the school had refused to help me. My best friend had done this to me. And it was just a horrible, horrible time. And so I decided in 2016 to try homeschooling, and I still couldn't do it. It was just like the word school and just trying to be part of it.
That'd be your trigger, wouldn't it?
It was like I developed this PTSD towards it.
So where are we now then? I mean, first, just remind me how old you are now.
I'm 16.
So you're 16 now, and from what your mum was saying, you actually go into schools and give talks now.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
What reaction do you get when you do this?
It's funny, the first time I did it at a private school, and I was doing it, and they're all the same age as me. I'm meant to be in grade 12 this year. And so at the end, when they asked how old I was, I'm like, I'm 16, I'm meant to be in your grade. They're all like, wow. Really? The reaction I get is, I wouldn't know really how to describe it in a sense, because...
But people of your age must be able to relate. Here's somebody of my own age who's gone... And there must be so many people going through the same thing. And at least you're opening that gate to say, guys, this is not acceptable. Don't just sit there and shut up and put up. Do something about it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very passionate about it, because, you know, you have a lot of older people from different generations trying to come down and be like, bullying is wrong, stop bullying. And then there's me, where I am that generation. I am with them and I am a part of them, and I know what they're going through. I know what they're experiencing because I am the same age as them. And so I think when they see someone and they hear someone who is so close to their age, they kind of can relate way more than somebody who's like, of course, 40 being like, bullying's so wrong.
Ancient. I mean, honestly, I can't believe there is anybody still alive of the age of 40. What's amazing for me is here you are, you're articulate, you're very, very focused, you're very mature for your years. I guess, without giving too much credit to your mum, the fact that she was supportive throughout all of this, because, you know, some parents, and I have to say, even people listening this morning, might not acknowledge and might not understand just how serious this is. And at least your mum was on the ball. She knew that this, you're not just attention seeking, this was genuinely happening.
Yeah, I'm very thankful towards my mother. I'm very thankful how supportive she was, because this issue is just passed on. It's just, people will just look on. They don't care about it. And I understand, like, they will probably give about 2 seconds of sympathy to it and be like, yeah, bullying's wrong, like, but you shouldn't quit school over it. But I don't think people know the extent of how debilitating it can be. No. It is just, it's horrendous. Like, I spent weeks in bed where I couldn't even get out. I couldn't get myself water or food because I just couldn't leave. I couldn't physically get up because it was just like I felt that low, that worthless, that down. And it's been hard. It's been a hard road to get here. I've gone through so much. I've been in hospital so many times. And you know what? To bring a person to wanting to end their own life, that's horrendous.
Wrong.
Even if somebody has a 1 second thought that passes their mind about wanting to end their life, that person has gone through too much. I think bullying needs to be addressed more within schools, and I understand schools are trying to do more to help it, and the government, like the Queensland government especially, is trying to put more money towards helping out with bullying, but I think they definitely need to implement more programs so kids can understand what's going on, because I didn't know I had depression and anxiety in year 8. I had no clue what it was even about.
No, of course not. And I think anybody listening right now, and what I have to ask you, Abby, as we begin to wrap this up, if anybody's listening right now, whether it's a young person, whether it's a parent listening that might be going through something similar, what is the one piece of advice you could give them? I know it's difficult to think about that at this stage.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what advice I would have given my mum and I.
And I guess, there'll be so many people, and this will resonate with parents this morning who might not even be aware that their child is being bullied.
I think communication will always be key. I think the parent and the child always needs to communicate with one another. And I think you just need to be open about it, because even though I know it's hard and I know it's very difficult, being open and letting people know what is going on, that will give you so many benefits to help you along the way that you won't even realize the change. And I definitely think if you open up about everything that's going on, then that will really, really help, and seek some help through it, and just keep strong and resilient.
Yeah, and Abby, I have to say, obviously I didn't know you when you were going through your bad time. To see you here, and you know what, this is a stressful environment. Come into a radio studio and to actually be as open and honest as you were, and you are calm, you're measured, you're in control. If anybody from local council is listening, anybody from government is listening right now, this girl needs to be your ambassador for the anti-bullying. And seriously, give us a call here at the studio if you want. I'll put you in touch with Abby, 38081101. This girl needs to be around every single school in Brisbane. And if there's any teachers listening, if there's anybody that can recognise what we've been discussing this morning, then it's been worthwhile. Abby, what a joy and what a pleasure to have Mum in the studio, and she didn't have to speak. Even better. Hang on, that means she'll need to come back at some other time, but there you are.
It's because she's a grandma, so she hasn't put her dentures in, so sorry.
Yeah, and that's a relief for all of us, and I'm so glad, dear listener, that it's not TV. If you've been affected by what we've been discussing in any way, if you want to make contact, you need to talk to this girl, because she will be able to understand more than anybody else we've ever had on the show. 38081101. Abby, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. You'll go on to bigger and better.
Oh, thank you.
Just remember when you're famous, okay? That's all I can say. So, like I said, if you want to know more, we will put you and Abby in touch. Thank you for coming to 101 FM.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.